Hi there, this is Gary from the Australian Cleaning and Restoration Academy. Well, I'm here today to talk to you about moisture meter language. So, I see a lot of reports from a lot of trained technicians from insurance companies that do not make sense whatsoever. Example, some people are saying the Gyprock is 15% dry. Some people are saying it's 3% wet. Which one of those is correct? So when we look at our readings, we've got to look at, well, is it a relative scale? And a relative scale is going to be done in digits. It's going to be an unaffected area versus an affected area. And it's in digits. It's not a percent. Again, I saw a report the other day that said it was 144%. And we know it's not percent because when I was at school, the highest mark I could get was 100%. So there's no way I can get, we've got that slang saying from Australia that's 110% effort. We know that's as high as you can get, all right? So where it was a digit number. So when you do a digit number of a relative scale, you need to go to the unaffected and get a benchmark and go to the affected, okay? So then you can go one step further and you get an equivalent reading. An equivalent reading is an equivalent to another test that might be done. So when you look at an equivalent to another test, you might look at, well, is it a weight percentage in concrete? Is it calcium carbide equivalent to a calcium carbide test? Is it a wood moisture equivalent? So what do you mean by that? Okay, let's run that through. So example, if you go and you're going to be checking a particle board floor, and the particle board floor, you can go in with, say, a dielectric ball meter or a couple of pads on a meter and resistant pads, and you're going to say, it's digits, it's a relative scale. So it's just picking up sometimes the surface, it's a relative scale. Then guys will go along and they'll use a hammer probe, and they'll hammer probe into the particle board and say it's 15% wet or 15% dry, right? So I go, okay, well, it's 15%, but what's that moisture meter calibrated to? Oh, it's calibrated to Douglas fir. Okay. Have you preset the surface temperature in there? No. So you can't say that's a percent. Why not? Because it's an equivalent to another test. You have to go to an unaffected area, similar to a relative scale, but better. Go to an unaffected area and you hammer probe in, you go, the unaffected area is reading 15 and the affected area might be reading 18, and now you've got a difference between the two. But if you want to get an absolute moisture content, there is moisture meters out there that are calibrated exactly to that material. So you need to know the brand of particle board, then you need to know what resin they mainly use in their particle board. It might be, say, melamine resin. You can choose that in your meter because it's got calibrations to that resin in that particle board to give you an absolute percent, because that meter is calibrated exactly to that material. Exactly the same as if you've got a timber floor, and if you look in, you go, have I got black timber or Jarrah timber in my meter? So you can type up Jarrah and say, oh, I found Jarrah. Do you have the right species of Jarrah? Okay, yeah, I do. Okay, cool. You can click on that, check your surface temperature, put your surface temperature in your meter, take a hammer probe reading on the bottom of the board, the middle of the board, the top of the board. Now you can get an absolute of what that board is actually reading. You can say it's 12.2% or 13.4% or whatever it is, right? Because you've got that meter calibrated. But if you don't have Jarrah in there, right, you can take a wood moisture equivalent, right? There is charts. You can do plus and minus to work it out. Exactly the same as concrete. When you have concrete, when you're looking at concrete, you've got some of the concrete encounters work in weight percentage or the calcium carbide equivalents testing. So these are tests where they're trying to be the equivalent of something, equivalent to another test. So some of these dielectric ball meters do that and concrete encounters do that. So you can have a relative scale, you can have equivalent, but if you want an absolute, there are meters out there that are calibrated to the different MPAs of concrete. So when you put these non-invasive meters in there, they can actually, it's a microwave system, they can actually get the percentage of moisture. So what are you writing? So if you're going to write 2% on concrete, you can't do that. You have to have some letters behind it. If I'm going to be writing on the particle board 15%, I have to be having some letters behind it, or that meter has to be calibrated to that material. So I see this all the time. People are using pins in Gyprock and saying it's 15%, but it's a wood moisture equivalent. It's not. You cannot say it's a wood. You can say it's a wood moisture equivalent, but I'd rather say it's 15 digits because it's confusing, because it's not wood. Okay, it's Gyprock. So the best way to do it is go, it's 15 digits in the affected area and 12 digits in the unaffected area, and that's your readings. Unless you have a meter that's calibrated to it. There's non-invasive meters that are calibrated to Gyprock, and then there's in-depth pin readings that you can take that are calibrated to Gyprock. So think about the language. Contact me if you'd like to have more information on this. I'd love to help you. I can send you some information, and happy to help, and keep out there doing some really good work with your moisture detection, and happy drying. Thanks for watching.